Get to it. All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Yutes, Maseches Bava Kama. A couple weeks into it. Good old Tessie.
Old bat. What is this?
The old bat. Yutes, on the top of Yud Testament Aleph.
Okay, got
Right.
it.
So we just had the case of, so we have 4 lines from the top. So now, picking up where we left off yesterday, we're going to have a series of questions. Most of them will end up in a takeout.
You know what Takeout is? He's the takeout man.
The takeout man, all right?
Yeah.
Takeout man, never heard that one, but all right. So, boy, Ravashi. So, Ravashi has a question. Yesh shinu l'tzaros l'vil nezek or ain't shinu l'tzaros l'vil nezek? What's going on? What's the question? So, we know that there's 2 types of chati nezeks we've been discussing. We've been discussing Karen goring, right? Goring abnormal behavior. Since it's abnormal, so you pay chati nezek. And then there's another one. There's a halach l'mosh misinai that tells us that if an animal is doing something natural, i.e. walking, right, then it kicks up stones and it indirectly causes damage. So you pay chatzi nezek according to the Rabban. So 2 cases of chatzi nezek. What about if we combine the 2, right? In other words, there's, let's say we combine the 2. Yesh shinui l'tzaros l'vil nezek or ain't shinui l'tzaros l'vil nezek, right? So let's say an animal is kicking. We say kicking is not normal, right? We said if an animal kicks, that's like, and causes damage by its kicking, you pay chatzi nezek. So let's say it kicks, and then from its kicking, it causes stones to fly and break glass. So maybe you should pay a half of a half, right? A quarter nezek, right? So, by Ravashi, is there? Do we say there's a shinui for tsaros to pay a quarter nezek? So Tisha the Rava. Let's say what Rabbi said. The boy Rabbi asked a question. Yesh ha'adal tzaros, ain't ha'adal tzaros. So Rabbi had a whole other question. He wanted to know, in other words, the opposite way, not whether you could be muad for tzaros to make you pay full nezek. So you see that the abnormal behavior is already the kicking up the stones, and therefore, so you can't say this chati nezek according to Rabbi, because Rabbi's question. His question was. That maybe you should be muad for tzraros. Oh, ain't other tzraros. So michlal, they ain't shinui. That we don't care if something shinui. Shinui, you pay chatzi nezek, right? And if you do the shinui 3 times, then you pay nezek shalim. Or maybe that was his question. My answer is no. Dilma Rava im tim salaymer kamar. Maybe he was saying if im tim salaymer ain't shinui. If you say that there is no such thing as being muad for tzraros, then can we tack on going the other way? Yesh, excuse me. If he says ain't shuna, we don't care whether something is abnormal or not. So on that we say, well, if he does it multiple times, yeshado ain't other. Take it. So the Gemara does not give an answer. So by Ravashi, kayach kaychol l'sumkus. So we said by sumkus over tzroros. We said the animal's walking and it kicks up stones and it breaks glass. So your chayv nezek shalim, right? Because your kayach is like your kedufo. So what about the kayach from the kayach, right? You kick pebbles, which hit something else that causes damage, right? You kick pebbles that knocks over a stick that breaks glass. So by Rashi, do we say it's like kayach in the Roman potter? I love, right? Do we say that? So me gamer halacha umukila b'kaycha. Maybe sumkus does learn this halacha much we see now tzaros. It just happens not a case of kayach but rather kaycha. Or maybe doesn't learn the halacha Moshe was seen at all. Take it. The Gemara once again does not give it to us. Now, next case of the Mishnah says Haisa levates. If the animal was kicking, shahayu tzoros matizin metachas regler, or if there were stones that flew up from its walking, the shivra sakelim broke utensils. Mishalim chatzinex pays chatzinezek. So. How do you understand the Mishnah? Because it's very interesting. It's talking about tzaros, and then it brings back a case of kicking, which is like goring, right? Which is a part talada of Karen. So they boilu. Hey, what's going on here? Is it saying, in other words, that how do you read the Mishnah? Is it saying if one animal kicks and damages with its kicking? And then there's a second case, or it's walking naturally and kicks up stones, and the stones break something. Mishalim chatzi nezek. Both these cases, 2 distinct cases, you pay chatzi nezek for Rabbanan. He's according to Rabbanan. Iduma, or maybe there's another way to read this Mishnah. if an animal was walking and then started to kick and the damage was kicking, it kicked glass and broke it. Or maybe stones came from its kicking. And the Mishnah is saying you pay Chatzi Nezek. So Gemara says, right? Therefore, if it's kicking and stones break something, so then you're chayav Chatzi Nezek. Mashma. But if it just walks normally and it breaks with soros, with pebbles, then you pay Nezek Shalim. Mamani, and whose opinion is this? This would be Sumkus, who doesn't say Sinai. So which way do we read our Mishnah? Right? I just going back reference when I originally read it and taught this Mishnah, we read it the first way. We read like two different cases. If one animal kicks, that's Chatzi Nezek. And also if an animal walks its normal way and breaks something, you also pay Chatzi Nezek. So Tashma. So Tashma can learn miseva for let's seifa. Darsal kli. If the animal was going ahead and it was hopping on a kli, v'shivra. So and then it broke it. V'nafal shever ala kli acher. Then it broke another piece. V'shivra broke the second piece. So it was jumping on vase one. A shard from vase one went off and broke vase two. Now. So vase one is ala risha mishalim nezek shalim. For vase one, the owner of the chicken pays nezek shalim. For the second one, which broke from a piece of the first one, chatzi nezek. The sumkus means like chatzi nezek. If it's sumkus, is there such thing as chatzi nezek? No. So farts are rabbanan. So Gemara says v'chi teimu. Maybe what does it mean? Risha, when it says the first one means risha lataza, it doesn't mean vase. You pay for vase one. It means you pay for vase two. In other words, the piece that flew off from piece one, right? Then you pay that nezek shalim, i.e. tzoros, right? V'chitem rishon lataza. V'sheni, and the second one means so piece one hit piece two, broke two, and a part of two broke three, right? V'sheni, and then when it says the second one, sheni lataza means the second one lataza. Right, and therefore you can say in this case, and you're chai for chatzi nezek. V'shana the sumkos bein kaichel lekaichel, right? And therefore sumkos could differentiate between something between his kayach and the kayach of his kayach to pay only chatzi nezek. So Gemara says if that's the case, Elohad by Ravashi kaichel sumkos kaichel dami. We just asked, 10 lines up. We asked this exact question according to Ravashi. Right, or according to Sumkus, right? Vashi asks according to Sumkus, if I break something which breaks another thing, kaicho, does Sumkus hold by there or not? So Tishalei delav kaicho dami. Say it's lav kaicho dami because if it's kaicho, you pay nezek shalim. So the answer is Rashi k'Rabbanan mukli. No, Rashi holds like the Rabbanan mukli. Boy lahachi, and this is how he says. If it was kicking and the damage from its kicking, or pebbles were going, from its normal walking, then chatzi nezek. Machma is biyut, but if maybe it came out naturally, it would be reva nezek, right? It would only be a quarter of the nezek if it was kicking and then stones broke a glass, and therefore you pay a quarter of a nezek v'yesh shinui, and therefore you'd say there is shinui, i.e. you downgrade chatzi nezek to quarter nezek. Or maybe the way you read it is it was kicking, and the damage was kicking. Or pebbles came out from its kicking, and chatzi nezek bein shinui, and then you pay chatzi nezek, and there is no difference whether it's natural walking or unnatural kicking, and the stones come out, and therefore it doesn't make a difference. You still pay chatzi nezek, no quarter nezek. Take it, so it doesn't answer the question according to the Rabban. Fine. Second wide line, 2 dots. Boy minei. Rabbi Abba bar Memel Rabbi Ami. Then some say Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Let's say he was walking in a place, right, where it was impossible for it to walk without kicking up stones. Elin Kane, Matazes would be Matazes, right? Only the stones would come up. So Ubiata, and then so if it was just walking, it would kick up stones, but it was kicking the tiza and kick up stones, vetiza vehizika, and it broke mahu. Do we say that it was impossible for it not to kick up stones, and therefore it's considered to be archay? So maybe now it would happen to be kicking, which is abnormal, and therefore maybe it's a case of abnormal kicking stones, which one perhaps could be either putter or would be a quarter nezek. So take it once again. The Gemara does not give an answer. So, let's say the animal is going in their Rishus Harabim. Feitiza, right? We're going to skip. I think much like this, right? Yeah. I think we skip this. There was the base. He takes it up, right? So he says, if the animal was walking, it's just a rabbim, veitiza, and then it kicked up stones, veizika, and then it caused damage, mahu. So we say, lekeren medaminale, v'chayeves. Is it like, since it occurred in just a rabbim, it's like keren, right?
Mhm.
Because it was walking, it occurred in the Rishus Rabbim, and we know that the case of goring occurs in Rishus Rabbim. Or maybe it's like rega, right? It's like rega, and therefore one is pater. So since the next Mishnah that an animal goes ahead and eats something something is in Rishus Rabbim, and your animal eats it, so you're pater. It's a talada of regal of doing it's walking normally. So therefore, since it's walking normally, the same way as regal is walking normally, it's talada regal. So what about this? It's walking in the rabbin, right, and then it kicks up a stone and it breaks a window to someone's house in the Rishus Yachid. Mahu Samarlei. Akira Enkan, Hanacha Yeshkan, right? So it's sort of a little bit of play on, we know in terms of carrying on Shabbos, you have to do, in order to be Chayv, you have to do Hanacha and Akira, right? Both in a forbidden area. So over here, it was not forbidden, right? Or Akira, then Hanacha, right? Yeah. So over here, there was no Akira that was done improperly, i.e., the animal was walking normally in the Shus Rabbin. If you're telling me an animal is walking the Shus Rabbin causes damage, right? Then over there would be putter. So, if that's walking here, you don't have an occurrence of it occurring of the animal being in the guy's Shus Yachid. So therefore, since there was no Akira, how could you have Hanacha that he would be Chayiv? So according to
the Akira would have taken place in the Rishus
Rabbim, right? So therefore, so in this case, right? So you don't have the Akira. So therefore he's pater, right? Since the Akira was done in a makom pater. So that was his answer. That was his answer. At this point, we'll soon see he's b'chayzer. So if the animal was walking and it kicked up stones, and it broke something. So Bain B'Shus HaYachid, Bain B'Shus HaRabbin Chayiv. Whereas Yachid B'Shus HaRabbin is Chayiv. So my love Hatiza B'Shus HaRabbin, Ve'Ziga B'Shus HaRabbin is not referring to a case of when it's walking the Shus HaRabbin and then it broke there and therefore one would be Chayiv. So he says, no, we're talking about Hatiza B'Shus HaRabbin, Ve'Ziga B'Shus HaYachid. Right? Remember, because this whole question was, does Sroros is that was one chayiv in Rishus Rabbim or not? Right? Is it like Karen? Will you be chayiv, or is it like Regel that you be potter? So we see over here Ben Rishus Rabbim you chayiv. So my love Tiza Rishus Rabbim Zik Rishus Rabbim Loy. He's Tiza Rishus Rabbim Zik Rishus Yachid. No, so no, you're walking Rishus Rabbim, but you damage Rishus Yachid. So Mar says Marta Kiren Kan Enoch Yeshkan. Right? We just said that you're not chayiv for that because there was no akira that was done improperly. So Amar Alei Hadrabi, I was chayzer from that. Seisvei asked another kasha to go ahead and then prove this answer. Darsal If the animal was going ahead, the chicken was jumping on a cleat. V'shvaso, and he broke it, or whatever, walked on a cleat. V'shvaso, and it broke it. V'nafal, right, and then it fell. V'nafal al shever al kli achet, and it broke. When it fell, hit another one. All right, the shibra, and it broke it. Al rishon mishalim nezek shalim. For the first one, he pays nezek shalim. V'al achra mishalim chatzi nezek. The Tani Allah, we said over there, B'medvar Murim, B'shus Hanizak, when this occurred, B'shus Hanizak, B'shus Harabim, but if it occurred B'shus Harabim, Al Harisha in Petura, for walking on the first one, you're Potter, because it's regular B'shus Harabim, and Al Achra and Chayeves, you be Chayev. So my love, Hatiza B'shus Harabim, Ve'zika B'shus Harabim, so we see over there that you're Chayev, even if there's in B'shus Harabim. So how could you say earlier that it's like regular where you be Potter? This says no. Hatiza b'shus harabim v'zika b'shus yachid. Now we're talking about a case of it was walking shus harabim, but the damage occurred in shus yachid. Marta, we just said akira and kan yeshkan. He said there was no akira, so you should be potter. Samarlei. Once again, he said hadr b. I was chayzer from that. The one says Aini was indeed chayzer. Turn the page. From Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan said ein chati nezek chaluk. Lo l'shus harabim, lo l'shus yachid, lo l'shus harabim. Right. So, in other words, there is no difference whether the what's it called? That the case of this case over here, that there's no difference between Rishus Yachid and Rishus Rabbin. So my lav atiza Rishus Rabbin, Vezika Rishus Rabbin. So you see over there that Rabbi Yochanan L'chara seemed to reference that even if you're kicked up stones while walking Rishus Rabbin and you cause damage to Rishus Rabbin, you are chayiv, not potter like Rago. It says lo. Hey, teach him Rishus Rabbin, Vezika Rishus Yachid. No, we're talking about a case of where it was walking Rishus Rabbin, then it caused damage to Rishus Yachid. Vamarta Akira and Kan Yishkan. You said over there, but you'd be potter from there because there was no Akira. Samarlei, once again, it says, Had should be it was chayzer. Or Iboy Sema, Kiyamar Rav Yochanan, the Rav Yochanan says, Karen. He was going on Karen, he wasn't going on a case of Hetiza, of kicking up stones. And Yazir Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, Rabbi Yeshua, Akila the Rabbi Yehuda, so they were sitting over there by the outdoor the porch balcony of the Rabbi Yehuda, with nothing Milsam and Benayas, and it came from them, learning from them. So it says, Kshisha Biznava Mao. Let's say the animal goes ahead and is moving his tail side to side and it causes damage that way. Mahu. So everyone says, I understand that's normal for the animal for his tail to wag, right? So what? The owner has to go ahead and hold his tail. It says, Karen Nami, right? What about the Karen? Nami, name of a Karen. Should he hold his horn? The Yelech and what? The rest is Haki Hash. How can I make the comparison? Karen Lavarche. Right, Karen to gore, that's not normal, right? That's abnormal. However, but over here, but wagging tail is normal. So Gemara says, so if that's the case, you're not supposed to hold it. So why would you be chayiv? So maybe we're talking about like the animal's known to wag his tail a lot, and therefore he knows if he goes through and cause damage, maybe in such a case he would be cause damage. All right. If you thought that case with the tail was interesting, Eddie, let's see the next case. So, boy, Ravina, Shakisha, Ba'amosa Mahu. So let's say his male organ, right, caused damage. Mahu. Me Amrina, do we say me did have a Karen? It's like a Karen. It's Karen. Of course, it's like Karen. It's like Karen. Lav yitzak katifle. Hakanami loishna. Do we say by a Karen? Right, the animal comes all heated and it gores, and a lot of times it's because the animal's in heat, which causes it to gore, and therefore, and so too over here with this animal, right? That I guess his male organ damages because his yetzer. I tell about Karen Kabbalah, or maybe when an animal gores, it intends to go ahead and cause damage. But over here, there's not intending for it to go ahead and damage. Once again, the Gemara leaves it take it. Hatana Golem Moad, and that was back to the Mishnah. Hatana Golem Moad Malach Kedarkan L'Shaber, right? So let's see if I can find the Mishnah, right? So the Mishnah says that Tana Golem and to break, and then the next case, the Mishnah says, if there was a rope, right, that was tied to his foot, right, and over there, so if there was a rope tied to it, or if it was hopping and then broke kalim, he pays chatzinezek in this case. Now, let's see. So we're only talking about if the rope was tied, you got caught around it on its own. But if a person went ahead and tied the rope and then the animal was walking and it caused damage from the rope, chayiv nikshur. Excuse me, chayiv. But if the person tied it, then he's a chayiv. So nikshmei, Lav understand if it was on its own, saman chayiv. Who should be chayiv? If the owner of the rope, no, it's my rope and it was Mark's chicken and I should be chayiv. Say what's the case? Right? So if it came in and then basically no, it was no paran. If it came in and I put away my rope and then your chicken came in my yard and then tied the rope around, so Inus, right? I didn't do anything wrong. This was Inus. The lost, and if I left out my rope for a chicken to walk by and for it to get caught on, so pashehu, then I was negligent. So Ella chayiv bal tarnagol. Rather referring to who is chayiv, the person that is on, is the owner of the tarnagol. So in other words, says okay. So ma'ishna kula nezek delo. So what's the reason why it's only chatzi nezek, not kula nezek, right? T'chsiv ki yiftach ish bor. When a man digs a pit, lo shore bor, not when an ox digs a pit. In other words, the person has to go ahead and do it, and therefore not the animal. So therefore, if the animal does it on its own, it's not nezek shalim. So chatzi nezek nami ish bor v'lo shore bor. So it's over here, right? It should be that if the shore didn't, in other words, or the chicken, right, or throw in the chicken didn't tie it. So if the man didn't tie it, he should be potter, right? Just like in the case of the pit, if the man didn't dig a pit, he's potter. So it's over here. If the man didn't tie the rope onto his own chicken, why should I be chayiv? Sela masnisin kaduya eduye. Right, returning over here, where basically the chicken threw off that rope which was on it and it pushed something off. And that which Rav Huna said, he was talking about in general, not reference to the Mishnah. Now, Delil, and we're talking about Delil, which is Hefker, and Amarav Huna, Niksha Mela Pater. It's something which is a rope that was just Hefker, it was lying out, and then my chicken came to basically, got connected to it. Then I'm Pater. However, Kishodam, but if the person went ahead and go ahead and tie it to it, then he's Chayiv. So Mishum my Chayiv. So why would be Chayiv? Why was he Chayiv in this case? Rav Huna, Mishum. Baro hamizgagal baragla adam baragla behema. Right? It's like a person who puts a pit or some sort of stumbling block out in public. So too, if I go ahead and I tie a rope to my chicken and it goes out, then it's like putting a hazard out into the reshus ha'rabim. Fine. Now Mishnah. So next Mishnah says, Ketzad hashain, what is the damage of shain? So moed lechol is a rule law. It's fit the animal to go ahead and eat something which is fit for it, such as habehema moed lechol peros v'yirakas. It's normal for an animal to go ahead and eat fruit and vegetables. And achla kasus of kalim, if it eats utensils or clothing, mishalim chatzi nezek, only pays half nezek. The medver murim, v'shuzar nizak. When it was a shuzar nizak, well, shuzar rabbim, if it was left out of shuzar rabbim, then pater. However, imnenes mishalamas ma shehenes. But however, let's say my animal what did benefit. Right? No, so I pay for its benefit. I normally pay $10 for feed for my animal, and it ate your $100 of produce you're going to sell to humans, as opposed to and replaced my $10 of paying for animal feed, right? So therefore, since my animal actually got enough from eating, I'll pay you the $10, right? Even though the damage to you was $100, if it was left out, which is a rabbit. So Ketzad. So what's the examples in the Gemara? We'll explain these cases. What's the case of Mishalos Mashenes? So Achla mitov, if the animal ate from that which was basically left out in the middle of the street, Mishalos Mashenes, then that's the case of something that was left out. Therefore, my animal benefited. I pay for its benefit. However, but it was on the side of the road, which is not necessarily considered to be Shus Rabbim. We have to see in the Gemara. Then I wouldn't pay the $10 of the animal feed. I would actually pay the $100 of damage. And if it was outside the door of the store, then since it's basically like the public way, then I only pay for what I benefited. However, but if it was inside the store, then once again I pay for the $100 that I caused damage, not for the $10 that I would have paid for my animal to eat. Fine. Zok the Gemara. Hashem mu'edes le'echol es harui lo. So an animal is normal to eat that which is fit for it. The animal went into someone's private yard, and they ate food, which is fit for it, or drank something that was normal for it to drink. The owner of the animal pays for full damages. So to a wild animal. The goes into the behemoth tears apart an animal, and it eats it. I pay full damage. But however, let's say a cow that ate barley, which is not normally it does, but it could do, or a donkey ate a vetch, the kelev shalikek is the shemen, or a dog that lit oil, or a pig that ate some meat. The shaman nezek shalim pays full nezek because lamaisa it ate something that was food. So Amrav Papa, remember this all occurred in
100%. All of them.
100% he pays. And Amrav Papa, now that you said, even though these things are not normally eaten, but if they do eat it, it's considered like a full-fledged 100% eating. So let's say a cat that ate dates, or let's say a chamor, right? That went ahead and then ate I think fish, right? It ate a fish, which is not something that it normally eats, right? Meshalim nezek shalim pays nezek shalim. And how chamra? There was once a donkey diachol namu palse. They once ate palse the seller. It once ate some bread and the basket that I was in. And chayvi Rav Yehuda l'shalei nezek shalim anam full fledged for the bread. But for the basket, only chatinezek because it was abnormal. Came in the since it was his way of eating nama, so salad. So over here was also known to go ahead and eat the bread basket. So my answer is no. No, if it didn't, in other words, it doesn't have manners. Oh, let me take out the bread and eat only eat the bread, not the basket. It actually ate the bread first, and then he was high for that. And then it ate the bread, the basket separately. So therefore, that was abnormal eating. Upas or chayu, and is bread normal for an animal to eat? If an animal, we'll soon see what type of animal eats bread or meat, all right, cooked or the tafshil or cooked dish, mishalim chatzin nezek. So my love, the behemoths, is it not by a behemoth? Let's say like a chamor or something like that, and therefore we see it's not normal. It shouldn't be nezek, shalim should be chatzin nezek. So my answer low. Bechaya, we're talking about a wild animal. Mar says chaya, a wild animal, basar chayu. Right, meat is normal for wild animal. You got your pet lion, right? Your pet cougar, right? So Gemara says no. Over here we're talking about where it was tzli, it was roasted. So it's roasted meat. Animals don't like roasted meat. They eat a wild animal eats raw meat, or viboy sema, batavia. Or we're talking about a case of, let's say, a deer, right? Some sort of herbivore that normally does not eat meat, and if it eats meat, so then that's chatzin nezek, or by saying, really, maybe it is an animal uptura, and we're talking about it was on the table, which is not the normal derech for it to go ahead and eat on the table, and therefore, in such a case, that would be chatzin nezek. And I guess we'll stop here at the top. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you all mitzvah tomorrow.